In this video, I want to show you how one real estate investor made $465,000 on his first real estate investment. This is a real-world example, so I want to show you the real numbers involved in purchasing the property, in closing it, in renting it out, and then in maintaining it over the years. So this is the property. It's a 3-bedroom freehold townhouse about a 45-minute drive from downtown Toronto. It was purchased in June 2012 for $380,000. This sounds cheap now, but at the time it wasn't. At the time of signing, a 10% deposit was required. For the rest of the year, the house was under construction, so it wasn't until March 2013 that the house was complete. And that's when the bulk of the fees and the balance of the down payment was due. So another 10% down was required, which is $40,000. That got him up to 20% down. And naturally, when you buy new from a builder, there are other fees and expenses that you should be expecting. There are a lot, so I'll read it off to you. There's Tarion enrollment, water meter installation, hydrometer installation, driveway paving, and those are just to the builder. Then you have your legal expenses. You have title insurance, land transfer tax, miscellaneous government registration fees, title search, disbursements, and all sorts of other miscellaneous legal fees. The biggest fee is HST. Because the property was being rented out, the owner no longer qualified for the built-in HST rebate, so it had to be paid upfront in full. But he later qualified again for that rebate, and we'll revisit this topic later in the video. So to get to this stage with an 80% mortgage, the total amount of cash required was $115,000. But remember, this is a brand new home. It's never been lived in. So the minute you walk into it for the first time, it's still not livable. It's missing everyday necessities like fridge, stove, dishwasher, washer, dryer, no AC, no fence, no window blinds. All these had to be purchased, and it added up to another $9,671. So with all those purchases made now, the property is finally ready to be listed to attract a tenant. It was listed March 2013 for $1,625 a month, and within 2 weeks, we secured a tenant, and an amazing one at that. The cost associated with this was $1,625 plus HST for the agent fees. The tenant would ultimately start the lease May 1st. To get to this stage where the bulk of the expenses have been paid and you can finally start to collect income, that required $126,500. If you remember earlier, I said that HST was the largest single line item associated with closing cost. But now that a 1-year lease has been signed, the owner qualified to claw that back. So in about 6 weeks, he was returned $25,499. So I've now shown you what it's like to purchase an investment property and to get it up and running so you can finally collect some rental income from it. What I want to do now is switch over to a very simple income and expense statement to give you a snapshot of what it's like to operate this investment each year. So the first year the landlord collected rent was 2013, and in that year he collected $13,000 worth of rent, and that's because the lease started in May, but a full calendar year would have been $19,500. You'll notice that he didn't raise rent for the next 5 years because the tenant was that amazing, and amazing tenants are worth a discount. It wasn't until 2018 that he raised rent by the allowable limit. There was no other source of revenue. If we move on to expenses, the first and most obvious expense is mortgage. The first year was $10,022 because he didn't take possession of the home until April. But on a 5-year fixed mortgage, the annual mortgage payments were $15,034. If you notice in 2018, it dropped, and that's because his 5-year term expired and he renewed at a lower rate. Then there's mortgage insurance. He paid for the first 3 years of mortgage insurance and then stopped mortgage insurance altogether because he just didn't see the value in it in a rental property. Then we have agent fees. It was $1,625 plus HST to get that tenant, and that tenant stayed all the way till 2019. Home insurance, of course. Property tax. If you notice, in year 1 it was only $31, and that's because the city hadn't assessed the property tax yet. But in year 2 it was $4,546, and that's because they retroactively applied 2013 and 2014 together. There is no free lunch in this country. And utilities. During the month of April, when the property was vacant, the owner was responsible for all expenses incurred. So if we subtract the revenue from the expenses, we'll come to net income. The first 2 years operated at a loss, but going forward, there was a very small and modest profit. But if we look at 2020 very quickly, the tenant left at the start of 2020 and a new tenant moved in at the current market rate. 1 year of rent at the current market rate would be $28,800. So you can see this year will be a lot more profitable. So you can see this type of single family home investing is not for the cash flow. You're not going to live comfortably on the monthly income. You're doing this because you believe this home is going to appreciate in value over time. The profit is going to be made when you sell. If the owner wanted to sell today, he could get about $760,000 for the home. His outstanding balance on his mortgage is $257,000. So including realtor commissions and whatnot, the owner is looking at pocketing about $465,000 from this investment. That's not bad for an investment that started off at a little over $100,000. This is a great example of starting small and growing with your investment. With the $465,000, he could easily have a down payment for another 2 condos or 3 condos if he chose to. Anyways, I hope you found this helpful. If you have questions, let me know, but thanks for watching.